In addition to being one of the largest episodes of The Handmaid's Tale to date, Episode 9 features two of the most dramatic character deaths in the entire series, High Commander Joseph Lawrence and Commander Nick Blaine. Although it was anticipated that there would be swift retaliation for the fallout from Serena Joy's wedding to High Commander Gabriel Wharton, which included sedatives in her cake and a plot to eliminate many of Boston's commanders, losing two longtime cast members of The Handmaid's Tale as well as Wharton himself was still a shocking outcome. Naturally, the plan for America in The Handmaid's Tale Season 6, Episode 9 did not include both Nick and Lawrence's involvement. Before she forced him to join her father, Commander Wharton, and fight for her and their son, the former was in the hospital with his wife, Rose. Lawrence's was a far more cruel accident. The commanders had come too early and pushed him into a corner, forcing him to join the plot to blow them all up, which is precisely what he did in the penultimate episode of The Handmaid's Tale Season 6. Technically, neither Nick nor Lawrence are shown dead in The Handmaid's Tale. We never see a body on television, and if that is the case, it is a kind of golden rule that suggests the character may still be alive. Here, not so much. There is no doubt that Nick got off the plane, and there is no realistic way that he could have survived that explosion. This isn't a sitcom. The plane turns into a ball of fire in the sky, and June watches in tears as Nick, Lawrence, Wharton, and the other commanders who were traveling to D.C. are killed. Lawrence, who had a closer relationship with Nick and at least understood his complex nature, might have found things slightly more painful when he was added to the plane's passenger list. However, it was undoubtedly insufficient to stop him from carrying it out. There was no way out of it, no way back. Lawrence had to make the decision to be on the right side, once and for all, because of his love for his daughter and his late wife, Eleanor. That meant that Nick would also die, in addition to him. Was it possible to save Nick's life? June silently watched him get on the plane, and so she could, in theory, have tried calling out, given she knew what otherwise awaited for him. However, that wouldn't have fit for either character at this point, nor would it have felt like a cheap way out for the show's plot. On some level, June most likely still loves Nick. Those emotions don't simply go away overnight, no matter what he did, it's never that easy. However, she is also inherently unable to trust him. If she were to attempt to save him, there is no assurance that he would assist them in leaving the situation or that he would decide to defy Gilead at that time. He already made his choice, and it's too late for another chance. June couldn't have let any residual feelings for Nick get in the way of them since she had just witnessed Lawrence give his life to make the world a better place for the people he loves. However, the danger it poses is greater than that. Nick's driver might have seen June and alerted the other commanders, or they might have heard her. This was the only opportunity to defeat several senior commanders and hit Gilead with another major. June couldn't have let any residual feelings for Nick get in the way of them since she had just witnessed Lawrence give his life to make the world a better place for the people he loves. Nick's story ultimately came down to June, as it had to. At the heart of his ending was the woman he had saved and been saved by, the woman he had loved and lost several times during the show. Not only was she the subject of his last discussion with Lawrence, but he also acknowledged her correctness. It's true that Nick ought to have listened to June and given it all up. Nevertheless, I had always believed that Nick's fate was to perish in Gilead. Admittedly, until a few episodes ago, I firmly believed that would be saving June and/or Hannah. However, this outcome is actually more satisfying because it plays to Nick's dual nature as the good-hearted, kind man who loved and saved June and the terrified child who was powerless to oppose the men in charge. Although Lawrence's fate is seen as a greater tragedy, Nick's is a sad one, but it was the right decision for The Handmaid's Tale. With the testaments approaching, it's cleaner to have him taken out of the picture completely because a happy ending for him would not have felt authentic to the series in any way. Even though he was unable to turn against Gilead, his death and the deaths of the others might have contributed to its destruction.